Air is the element of freedom. The air nomads detached themselves from worldly concerns and found peace and freedom. Also, they apparently had pretty good senses of humor.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Reggie here, back with you for another video. Welcome back to the House of Animation, where we have discussions and reviews about our favorite anime and cartoons. And today we're gonna have another discussion about one of the greatest cartoons to ever hit a TV screen. That's right, we talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. But instead of talking about the characters from Avatar: The Last Airbender, we're going to be talking about the bending disciplines, more specifically airbending. So what I'm going to do for this video is have a general overview of airbenders and the airbending style, talk about some of their strengths and weaknesses, and then lastly where I think airbending as a bending art form ranks in the overall scheme of the bending disciplines. So first off, I just gotta say, I ain't gonna hold you, airbending isn't my favorite element, but they're definitely the best to watch in a fight. The way airbenders would move around the battlefield was so clean. I know when fighting these guys, you had to be frustrated because they were impossible to hit. And that's the first thing I want to talk about. Airbending is called the bending of freedom. So what the airbenders basically did is just detach themselves from all worldly concerns and problems. So basically what they said is, yo, we just gonna sit here, chill in the mountains, eat our vegetables, and mind our damn business. And as someone who lives in a fairly big city, I kind of respect that, because walking around here, mind your damn business, is basically an unwritten rule. So the key to airbending is to be nimble, be flexible, ever-changing. Airbenders were pacifists by nature, so they never really wanted to smoke, so they would do their best to avoid a fight. So as a general trait of being an airbender, most airbenders were pretty even keel. If ever they would start to get tight, they would just start meditating so they can become more balanced. And speaking of balance, that's going to lead us right into some of the airbending strengths. So to begin, one of the strengths of airbending is that it's probably one of the most consistent elements. For example, fire is stronger during the day and weaker at night, while waterbenders are weaker during the day and stronger during the full moon. Now, earthbenders don't got that sort of thing where they're either stronger or weaker during a particular period of time. But just like waterbenders, earthbenders can't produce their element. If there's no earth around them, they're basically useless. Now, this is all before Toph invents metal bending. Before the invention of metal bending, firebenders used metal prisons to be able to trap earthbending soldiers so that they wouldn't be able to use their abilities. But airbending has no such weaknesses. Just like firebenders, airbenders are able to produce their element no matter the situation. And an airbender's strength is neither bolstered or weakened depending on the time of day. Airbenders are by far the most consistent when it comes to level of power. An airbender's next strength would be their long-range attacks. Because potentially airbenders have a near infinite amount of area to bend, airbenders are able to make such wide and sweeping attacks that they're able to deal damage to multiple enemies and defend from multiple enemies as well. The air sphere being a great example. Aang and Tenzin have both used the air sphere to defend against multiple enemies at the same time. And like I said before, airbenders are easily the most athletic and agile of all of the bending disciplines. I mean, my man Aang moves like a world-class gymnast. The way that airbenders are able to move around the battlefield, jump, evade, dodge, it is beautiful to watch. Using airbending, airbenders are able to climb high walls, jump from ledge to ledge, move from tree to tree. Airbenders essentially make the entire battlefield an extension of their art form. This adheres to the fact that as far as a primary solo element, airbenders are the most versatile with what they can do with their art form. Airbenders are able to make a funnel to use to throw rocks at high speeds, or use airbending to make giant tornadoes to be able to redirect objects at someone, or even be used as a vacuum where you can use it to suck the air out of someone's lungs. Airbending has so many different applications on the battlefield, and it's really only held back by the users of airbending, and that leads us into some of its weaknesses. One of the first weaknesses of airbending is that it's largely used by most of its practitioners as defensive. Now, I know earlier I said this was kind of a strength, but it's also kind of one of their weaknesses as well. Because airbending is a defensive art form and there are so many different techniques for being able to evade and defend yourself, that leaves very little techniques when it comes to attack. So airbenders lack the ability to make a decisive blow to end a battle against their enemies. The airbending practice is to avoid conflict and to move around danger. This is shown by Tenzin when he's explaining the tools with airbending and the leaf. Airbenders mainly spend their time blocking, evading, and avoiding conflict because they want to keep their inner peace. Their inner peace and balance is the key to their bending, but also one of their weaknesses as well. Take firebending for example. We've seen plenty of examples of firebenders getting absolutely heated and using that emotion to help fuel their destructive power. Since airbenders are so even-keeled most of the time, they really don't have that emotion to tap into to try and use that power against their opponent. And that leads into the last and probably most glaring weakness of airbending. Airbending lacks destructive power. We have seen airbenders such as Avatar Roku use airbending to destroy a building, but that's not necessarily fair because he's the Avatar. We haven't really seen any other airbenders besides him use airbending as a destructive force. Earthbending has been used to destroy buildings, and firebending speaks for itself. And unfortunately, when it comes into the subbending categories, at least at this point, airbending has not shown to have any significant subbending other than the ability to spiritually project yourself. The only other noteworthy thing when it comes to airbending is Zaire, for example, being able to fly without the use of a glider. But me personally, I don't really even think that's that impressive. I actually like the fact that airbenders use gliders to fly. Number one, because Aang used it as a weapon most of the time, but then also because number two, we've even seen examples of airbenders being able to fly without gliders before when they were flying on clouds. And now in The Legend of Korra, where we see the fact that airbenders have their flying suits, which makes what Zaire did even less impressive, I don't even really think it's really that noteworthy. So although I love airbending and it's probably my second favorite bending discipline, it probably is gonna rank the lowest. But if you think I'm wrong, let me know. I'm gonna be making my other 3 bending videos in the future, so let me know where you think airbending ranks in the 4 bending styles. But for that, I got nothing left for this video. So, peace!